On the day our family declared bankruptcy, my younger sister and I were reborn. My sister knelt on the floor, her face streaked with tears as she implored, "Mom, please let me take my elder sister's place and continue my education. I'm ready to sacrifice myself for our family by abandoning my studies and marrying Lucian." Lucian, the eldest young master of the wealthiest family, had fallen into a vegetative state after a tragic car accident in my previous life. Less than a month after our marriage, he astonishingly regained consciousness. The entire family, being the richest, lauded me for my dedication and showered me with even more affection. However, my younger sister's fate was dire. She was deceived both financially and sexually, and was nearly beaten to death by domestic abuse. Holding me responsible for stripping her of her status as the young mistress of Lucian's family, she retaliated by driving and fatally hitting me. When I awoke again, witnessing her hypocritical demeanor, I couldn't help but smirk. Even in Rebirth, a fool remains a fool. "Mom, please let me take my elder sister's place and continue my education. I'm ready to sacrifice myself for our family by abandoning my studies and marrying Lucian," I pleaded once more. This time, my twin sister Jamie knelt with genuine sincerity and determination in her eyes. I noticed our parents' eyes welling up with tears, moved by Jamie's resolve. Our family was on the brink of bankruptcy, and only Lucian's affluent family was willing to help, contingent upon a marriage alliance between our families. As everyone knew, Lucian, the eldest son of his family, had been in a vegetative state for 6 months due to a car accident. Marrying him meant potentially becoming a widow for life. In my previous life, to avoid marrying Lucian, when our family was selecting who would marry him by drawing lots, Jamie secretly bribed a servant and swapped the 2 lots with identical ones. She generously let me draw first, which seemed fair, but unexpectedly, less than a month after our marriage, Lucian woke up. Everyone envied my fortune. The richest family attributed their good luck to me, and my parents were delighted for me. Only Jamie was consumed with jealousy, her eyes reddening with anger. She found a wealthy man to marry as well, but he turned out to be a fraud. He cheated her out of money and intimacy, and frequently abused her at home. The more she thought about it, the angrier she became, convinced that I had taken her position as the young mistress of Lucian's family. After nearly being beaten to death by her husband, she retaliated by driving and killing me. Upon rebirth, I was again back to the day our family faced bankruptcy, but this time, Jamie took matters into her own hands. She stopped our parents from drawing lots and chose to sacrifice herself, revealing that she too had been reborn. I saw her kneeling, trying to conceal her excitement despite her efforts. She believed that marrying Lucian would grant her a superior life, making her as glamorous as I had been in my previous life. Foolishly, she had no idea of the horrors I had endured in Lucian's family, unaware of how repulsive and depraved his family members were. "Jamie, are you sure you want to marry Lucian, knowing he's in a vegetative state?" I questioned. As a mother, she loved both daughters equally. "No, Mom," Jamie responded firmly. "I'm certain." "Are you sure?" our mother persisted, slightly hesitant. "Absolutely," Jamie insisted. "I'm only attending a third-rate university, whereas my elder sister is enrolled in a prestigious one. It would be too impractical to ask her to quit school and marry Lucian. Besides, I've always struggled with poor grades. The third-rate university was funded by the family's money." Hearing her reasoning, our parents realized Jamie had matured and become sensible. Relieved, they agreed to her request, saying, "Since you've asked willingly, we will honor your wish. It's a pity for you, Jamie." After gaining their consent, Jamie couldn't help but display a proud smile and provocatively glanced at me. I feigned ignorance and expressed an exaggerated sense of gratitude towards her. After all, it meant she would bear the hardships on my behalf. With Jamie marrying Lucian, she grew increasingly arrogant at home. Unlike me, she had never received the same level of parental affection, a consequence of her own actions. She disregarded her parents' advice and disliked studying. In junior high, she had puppy love and was repeatedly called to school by concerned parents. She even nearly eloped, but later insisted on marrying Cole, a fake rich man. Despite my parents' disapproval, she ignored their concerns. After marriage, she continually demanded money from our parents, nearly depleting the family's savings. Our parents became extremely disappointed and eventually cut her off. In my previous life, without parental support, Jamie sought money from me, which I refused. I viewed Cole as unreliable. Marrying him meant being deceived financially and sexually. Additionally, although I appeared to have a glorious position in Lucian's family, I couldn't access their wealth. However, Jamie believed I was intentionally withholding help out of jealousy. Now, having become the family's hero, she felt entitled, thinking she would soon be the superior young mistress of Lucian's family. She wanted to vent all her previous life's grievances. "I want an apple," she demanded loudly. "Haley, call the servant sister and have her peel it for me," Jamie commanded arrogantly. I watched her, knowing that by marrying a vegetative person, she was attempting to shield herself from suffering. I took a fruit knife and prepared a hard apple for her. She was right. She was indeed going to endure suffering in my place, and her good days were limited. "I'll show mercy," I thought. Jamie glared at me with an ugly expression. "You gave me the whole apple. How am I supposed to eat it? Do you want me to choke? I want it in pieces." I stayed silent and sliced the apple into small pieces, offering her a piece with a tiny fork. As soon as she took it, she spat it out, splattering my face. Instead of getting angry, she accused me. "Mom, my elder sister deliberately gave me a bad apple to eat. Does she want me dead?" I rolled my eyes in frustration. Just then, our parents returned from work. They had become more indulgent towards Jamie, almost catering to her every whim. Our mother comforted her, saying, "Your elder sister must not have done it on purpose. I'll buy you a new one. You've always favored her since childhood. I have sacrificed so much for the family, yet you still favor her." Jamie exploded in anger. "You're both my blood. How can you favor anyone? I am stricter with you for your own good. I don't care. My elder sister gave me a rotten apple. You must compensate me. How do you want to be compensated? I want to buy that Chanel bag. It's only $130,000. I saw our mother gasp. The family business hadn't yet recovered from bankruptcy, and $130,000 would be a devastating blow to our parents. Despite their explanations, Jamie refused to relent. Our parents had no choice but to agree reluctantly. Jamie flashed a proud smile as they left, and then provocatively told me, "Sister, don't be jealous. I'm not jealous at all. I'm just watching you court disaster and then be abandoned by everyone." From then on, Jamie became even more domineering at home. She demanded whatever she wanted, regardless of the family's circumstances. She insisted on having the best food, clothing, and supplies. Although the renewed favor from our parents was gradually diminishing, Jamie remained indifferent, believing that her future wealth and honor would eliminate the need to rely on our family. However, she still harbored some fear of me, as evidenced by her deliberate introduction of Cole into our lives. In this life, Jamie not only sought to strip me of my wealth and status, but also wanted me to repeat her past mistakes and suffer her tragedies. It was utterly repulsive that, instead of improving herself and striving for independence, she was filled with malicious intentions. Even if reborn 100 times, she couldn't change her foolishness. I naturally rejected Jamie's kindness. In response, Jamie cried and caused a scene in front of our parents, accusing me of making her lose face with her friends. She insisted that our parents force me to apologize to Cole for a long time. Our parents were growing increasingly impatient with Jamie, but given her supposed sacrifices for the family, they tolerated her behavior. Jamie became more proud and demanded our parents provide explanations. Unable to endure it any longer, I declared loudly, "I'll marry Lucian. Since my younger sister considers marrying him such a great sacrifice, I will take on the responsibility as the elder sister." Jamie's face paled instantly. She hadn't expected me to respond this way. She thought she could manipulate me by marrying Lucian, but she didn't anticipate being outmaneuvered. At that moment, our parents remained silent, clearly fed up with Jamie's antics. "Dad, Mom, go and tell Lucian's family that I will marry Lucian. Their family just needs a daughter-in-law. Anyone will do," I said resolutely. "No, I won't," Jamie exclaimed excitedly and sincerely. "I'll marry. There's no need to deprive my elder sister. I'm willing to sacrifice for the family, and so are you." I knew Jamie couldn't possibly agree. She was obsessed with marrying Lucian out of her own volition, not feeling wronged but instead feeling proud to contribute to the family. Panicked, Jamie asked, "Are you really not feeling wronged?" "I'm not," I affirmed. Since that's the case, you, my younger sister, shouldn't keep saying you're sacrificing for the family all the time. You're putting a heavy psychological burden on us. I will never say it again." Jamie quickly promised to change, finally calming down and refraining from reckless actions to contribute to the family. Our parents enjoyed a few peaceful days until Jamie eventually married Lucian as she had wished. On her wedding day, she whispered proudly in my ear, "From today on, in this life, you can only envy me." I smiled inwardly, thinking, "Congratulations, Jamie. You've officially stepped into the abyss." Jamie and Lucian's wedding was grandiose. Although Lucian didn't appear in my previous life, Jamie had been jealous of me from childhood into adulthood. She was lazy, lacked ambition, and was inferior to me in every way, but couldn't stand me being better. At the wedding, she didn't smile, likely because Lucian was still in a vegetative state, making her feel somewhat balanced and preventing any trouble this life. It was finally her turn. I noticed the almost hidden smile on her face, impossible to mask. The wedding ceremony proceeded as usual. Darren, the second young master of Lucian's family, held Lucian's photo and conducted the ceremony on his behalf. The moment I saw Darren, I trembled as images of him humiliating and whipping me involuntarily surfaced in my mind. He had forced me to kneel naked on the ground and bark like a dog. "Audrey, what's wrong?" my mom asked, noticing my pale complexion and that I had lowered my eyes. But my hand under the table had already clenched into a fist. My mom didn't think much of it since the wedding was underway. I suppressed my fear, disgust, and anger, focusing on the two people on stage. I saw Darren's eyes casually resting on Jamie's body, followed by a meaningful smile curling at the corner of his mouth. I was all too familiar with such a smile. It was simply that of a beast. The master of ceremonies asked Jamie, "Are you prepared to marry Mr. Lucian?" Jimmy asked firmly. "I am prepared," I responded resolutely. "Even if Lucian remains in a vegetative state for the rest of his life, my commitment will not waver. My view on marriage is that it only leads to widowhood, not divorce." Warm applause filled the venue. Everyone was deeply moved by Jimmy's vow. Initially, the guests at the wedding whispered that Jimmy was only marrying the unresponsive Lucian for his wealth, but now it was clear to everyone that Jimmy truly loved Lucian. Hearing the applause, Jimmy felt a surge of pride, oblivious to the malicious and sinister smile on Darren's face after she made her declaration. After the ceremony, Jimmy joyfully left with Lucian's family. Watching her excessively happy demeanor, all I could do was wish her well. On my way back, I received a message from Jimmy. She couldn't wait for me to feel envious and jealous of her. Today, she would occasionally provoke me. Since I hadn't reacted much before, she couldn't hold back any longer. "Sister, do you realize how wonderful Lucian's family is to me? Not to mention the immense effort they put into this wedding. You also saw Darren, a wealthy second generation taking excellent care of me all along. Did you catch a few extra glances at Darren today? Do you have feelings for him? Although he holds me in high regard, what does our family's status matter? Don't embarrass yourself. I simply married into Lucian's family. Don't make me lose face," I replied coldly, putting my phone down with a chilly smile. Thus, Jimmy remained concerned that I might seduce Darren and also marry into Lucian's family to enjoy her wealth and prestige. It's laughable, if I recall correctly, that tonight, Darren would take Lucian's place and consummate the marriage with Jimmy on the very bed where Lucian sleeps. The more Jimmy pleads for mercy, the more exhilarated Darren becomes. This night will truly be a massacre. Naturally, this no longer concerns me. My priority now is to make the company thrive, because I know that once the two brothers tire of Jimmy, they will turn hostile immediately. In my previous life, before that time arrived, I was killed by Jimmy. In this life, I must plan ahead and seek vengeance. I will not let go of anyone who has wronged me. According to traditional customs, on the second day of the wedding, the bride is to return to her parents' home. Since Lucian is still in a vegetative state, naturally, Jimmy returns alone. Upon her return, her complexion is noticeably poor, and her gait is off. The look in her eyes when she gazes at me is as though she wants to tear me apart, but I pretended not to notice and warmly welcomed her alongside our parents. Jimmy naturally did not express her grievances. She chose her own path. She doesn't want to be disheartened so quickly, nor does she harbor ill will. Moreover, she still holds hopes for Lucian. She believes that when Lucian awakens after a month, she will rid herself of Darren's depravity and enjoy great love and wealth. However, she is unaware that Lucian is even worse than Darren. Jimmy stayed at home for a day, hesitating to leave until Darren personally came to collect her. When Darren arrived at the house, I noticed that Jimmy's face turned pale, and our parents were very welcoming towards him in front of outsiders. In the past, not only Darren but also Lucian was like someone favored by the heavens. They were always polite and highly regarded by the elders. Darren politely said, "Auntie, don't worry. I came to pick up my sister-in-law as per my parents' orders. They are concerned she might return home alone too late. Our in-laws are really good to our Jimmy." Our parents sighed sincerely. Jimmy didn't dare to speak. Darren smiled and said, "Jimmy married my older brother and is now part of our Lucian family. Auntie, don't worry. Our entire family will treat her very well. Jimmy will be under your care." Darren nodded and said to me, his sister-in-law, "Let's go." I saw that Jimmy's face became even paler and her body trembled uncontrollably. She suddenly looked at me and introduced Darren. "This is my twin sister. She is an excellent student, has a great figure, and is also very beautiful." Darren glanced at me and greeted me politely. "Hello?" I responded coldly. Jimmy still attempted to say something, but I quickly interjected, "Darren came especially to pick you up. Don't keep him waiting too long. Hurry back." Both our parents also urged her. Jimmy clenched her teeth, gave me a fierce glare, and left. Of course, I knew the ill intentions she was harboring. Sure enough, soon I received a message from Jimmy. "Sister, don't say that your younger sister isn't good for you after marrying into a wealthy family. I won't help you anymore. Today, I deliberately introduced you to Darren. You also know how popular Darren is. If you are interested in him, I will help you create opportunities." I replied, No. I am not fortunate enough to enjoy such immense wealth. It's better for my younger sister to benefit from it." "Well, Jimmy wants me to be her scapegoat and eliminate Darren. It's laughable, not to mention that I can't be deceived by her. Darren also has a quirk. He only likes women who belong to his older brother and is not interested in other women." Later, Jimmy sent me numerous messages boasting about Darren's virtues in various ways. I simply pretended not to see them and remained genuinely busy. Besides studying, I also began assisting my parents in managing the company. Only then did I realize why the company had been poorly managed in my previous life. The business direction was entirely wrong, still engaged in traditional offline sales. This also resulted in me being under Lucian's family's control all the time. In my previous life, after joining the company, I immediately transformed it and became one of the first companies to engage in online live streaming when live streaming wasn't so popular. I attracted attention and traffic by leveraging handsome men and beautiful women. After fierce competition, I became a live streamer myself, using bilingualism to discuss poetry in distant places in the live streaming room, becoming a prominent figure in the live streaming industry. Under my leadership, the company soon got back on track and rapidly developed. At that time, half a year had passed, and Lucian had naturally awakened long ago, as in my previous life. After Lucian unexpectedly woke up, his family took all the credit and gave it to Jimmy. They presented Jimmy with many priceless pieces of jewelry and bags and indulged her. Wherever Jimmy went, others envied her, and she became quite arrogant as well. As soon as Lucian woke up, she returned home and deliberately showed off in front of me. Lucian's family all claimed that I am a lucky star, saying that without me, Lucian wouldn't have awakened so soon. Initially, I was worried that Lucian wouldn't like me after all, because our love wasn't freely developed. He didn't know me before, and I feared he would resist. But who knew that after he awoke, he fell in love with me at first sight? So, people still have to be kind to me just because I am kind enough and willingly sacrifice myself for this family. How could I have such a good life? I just listened and did nothing. When I saw that I didn't display any envy or jealousy, she sarcastically said, "Sister, are you jealous of me now that I finally have a good life? Are you deliberately not giving me a good look?" "Who told you to be so selfish and unwilling to sacrifice yourself?" I rolled my eyes and stood up, intending to return to my room to do my own things. I wasn't supposed to be home today. It was because my parents said that Jimmy was coming back, and as her elder sister, I still had to entertain her. "Audrey, don't ask me for help in the future," Jimmy said fiercely. When she saw that I ignored her, she continued, You also know my status in Lucian's family now. You also know how wealthy Lucian's family is. If you encounter any problems in the future, don't come to me." "Okay," I immediately agreed and responded to Jimmy, "then don't come to me for help if you have any issues in the future." Laughingly, when Jimmy heard what I said, she exaggeratedly laughed. "Sister, don't you see the status I have now and the status you have? Do you think it's possible for me to come to you for help?" "Then it's settled," I said, too tired to engage in her nonsense. "Audrey, since you've said so much, let's clarify everything face to face," she insisted. I frowned and looked at her. What needs to be clarified? Jimmy replied righteously, "Originally, I am now living a life of superiority. I also want to help you after all. With Lucian's family's assets, our family hasn't been able to keep up for several generations, and you are my only elder sister. I genuinely want you to have a better life. I also deliberately introduced Darren to you. Not only did you not appreciate it, but you were also so sarcastic to me today in front of our parents. Let's make it clear that no matter what happens to you in the future, don't come to me. Similarly, I won't come to you for help, and you are also not allowed to pursue Lucian. Lucian is my husband. All his possessions are mine." I laughed upon hearing this. At that moment, I finally understood why Jimmy said so much. She was afraid that I would have an affair with Lucian. As in the previous life, at least in front of outsiders, Lucian was extremely good to me. Is she afraid that Lucian will become infatuated with me again? Lucian has just woken up after being asleep for so long. His body needs to recover, so she still doesn't know about Lucian's depravity. Now she only knows that Lucian has no resistance towards her at all. Nonsense! Who would refuse a prey that comes to your door? Sister, can't you be so shameless trying to snatch your own younger sister's man? When Jimmy saw that I didn't respond immediately, she became very excited. I was truly amused by Jimmy's overbearing logic. "How perverted are you?" Jimmy scolded. "Only those who are psychologically perverted would think that others are the same," I retorted. "I have never had such an idea. I wish you and Lucian could be together forever." I stated word for word, then added, "Swear that you have no improper thoughts about Lucian, or else you will suffer a terrible fate." "Why should I swear for you? If you don't swear, you are guilty. Do you really think that everyone in the world is as despicable, shameless, and without any boundaries as you? I have morality, unlike you with incorrect values, Audrey." "That's enough!" Jimmy was exposed by me and broke down. When Mom and Dad saw us arguing, they quickly intervened as peacemakers. "What's wrong with you? It's not easy for Jimmy to return. Don't fight. We are all family." "She and I are not family," I replied. Jimmy was extremely angry. "Today I will sever our sister relationship. If you try to stop me, I will sever the parent-child relationship with you. Don't forget that our family's company can still survive now only because of Lucian's family and only because of me." Mom and Dad were greatly embarrassed by what Jimmy said, although this was indeed the case. Selling one's daughter for prosperity is disgraceful. Everywhere there were people around who criticized Mom and Dad's actions. Mom and Dad were not without sorrow in their hearts, but for the sake of the family business, they could only hold on. After all, it was the painstaking effort of several generations, and they didn't want to ruin it in their own hands. Moreover, Grandpa was still lying in the hospital. Once the economic support was cut off, the family couldn't afford Grandpa's expensive medical expenses and could only watch Grandpa die helplessly. So, in my previous life, I was also willing to sacrifice for the family. But when it comes to Jimmy, she has turned this into her leverage to do whatever she wants in the family. We don't need to involve Mom and Dad in our affairs. I don't want to burden them further at this time. I haven't fully developed the company yet. At least, I can't surpass Lucian's family. I said, "If I sever the sister relationship with you, then fine. From now on, we have no relationship. No matter what happens to me or what happens to you, we have nothing to do with each other. Otherwise, we will be struck by lightning." "Okay," I immediately agreed. Jimmy smiled smugly. After all, she achieved 2 goals today. 1, to prevent me from having any connection with Lucian, and 2, to sever our relationship. In the future, she can enjoy her splendor and wealth alone. Suddenly, I really wanted to see how miserable she would be when she regretted it. For some time after that, Jimmy did not return again, but news about her could often be seen in the media. Lucian recovered rapidly, and his wife Jimmy accompanied him on walks, never leaving his side. Lucian frequently accompanies his adored wife Jamie to various shopping centers, spending extravagantly to ensure her happiness. On Jamie's birthday, he gifts her a luxurious seaside mansion valued at hundreds of millions, and together they celebrate with parties that extend day and night. Meanwhile, I remain stuck in the office, unable to suppress my frustration. In my past life, I nearly lost my life at the seaside villa. The so-called day and night truly signified non-stop activity, as Lucian and Jamie have been publicly displaying their affection in the media for 6 continuous months. Today, after working late and heading home, I sensed something was off the moment I stepped inside. There, I found Lucian comfortably seated on my sofa, warmly engaged with my parents, while Jamie sat quietly beside him. I had never seen Jamie so well behaved since her childhood, though she now appeared slightly cautious. In reality, this wasn't Lucian's first visit to my house, but I had always made excuses to avoid meeting them. This time, his arrival was unexpected, and no one had informed me beforehand. My mother quickly approached, saying, "This is Lucian. Your sister has been married to him for quite some time. Haven't you met him yet? It's time you get acquainted." I exchanged a glance with Lucian, who looked back at me with evident interest. He smiled intentionally and remarked, "Your sister is truly busy. Every time I visit, I hear you've been working overtime. How is Chen Enterprise progressing lately? Is there anything my family can do to assist? Your sister shouldn't have to overwork herself to earn money. I even heard she's become a live streamer to please others, which must be quite challenging." Seeing Lucian's blatantly insincere demeanor once more made me want to tear him apart. Reflecting on my past experiences, I let out a slight chuckle. "It's all right. You can't depend on others for a lifetime. Sister, don't try to be so courageous. We are family now. If you need anything, just ask." Lucian responded warmly. "I don't wish to prolong this conversation either. I have some matters to attend to, so I'll return to my room first. We can continue talking later." With that, I went upstairs, feeling nauseated from even glancing at Lucian again. Back in my study, I busied myself with work until I heard an argument from the adjacent room. "I want a divorce from Lucian. I don't want to return to his home anymore. I don't want to—" It was Jamie's distressed voice. "Have you had a fight with Lucian?" I inquired. At the bedside, husband and wife quarreled before reconciling at the foot of the bed. "Don't act so immature. Lucian treats you well enough," my mother advised her. "What nonsense are you spouting? He isn't good to me at all. He's a pervert. He's been like that since childhood. You've always been so impulsive." My mother grew somewhat exasperated. Firstly, Jamie had brought this upon herself, as my mother had no faith in her. Secondly, given Lucian's ongoing public displays of affection, how could she believe he was bad to Jamie? Upon hearing the door open and close, I assumed my mother had left, letting out a slight chuckle in a moment of smug satisfaction. Suddenly, Jamie's door swung open forcefully. She caught sight of the slight smile at my mouth, her eyes red with fury. "Audrey, did you do this on purpose? Did you know about it beforehand?" "I don't know what you're referring to. I pretended to be unaware." "You know Lucian isn't a good man, yet you still wanted me to marry him. How could you be so spiteful?" Jamie shouted, clearly overwhelmed with emotion. Feigning surprise, I responded, "Is Lucian not a good person? Doesn't he shower you with gifts, buying you numerous jewels, luxury cars, and mansions? Everyone envies you. What more could you possibly want? Are you mocking me?" Jamie couldn't contain her anger. "Where did I mock you? I sincerely wish you well, but you told me not to get close to Lucian and not to ask you for help, so I had to keep my distance," I admitted regretfully. Jamie was infuriated by my response, nearly bursting into tears and wanting to say more. "Jamie, where are you? Let's go home." Lucian's voice came from outside. I saw Jamie tremble entirely. Her fear of Lucian was genuine and unstoppable. After a moment, Lucian entered my study, naturally placing his arm around Jamie. "Baby, let's go." Jamie's face paled as she glared fiercely at me but didn't dare to resist Lucian. She knew that resisting him would only worsen the situation. Once Jamie and Lucian left, I didn't think much of it. Until that night when Jamie unexpectedly called, claiming she was drunk and couldn't get home, asking me to pick her up. How ironic, I thought. In this new life, can I still be as naive and fall for her schemes? I refused immediately. Jamie, remember what you said. Our sisters have cut ties. You don't ask me for help, and I don't ask you for assistance, Audrey. Do you want me to die? Her desperate cries came from the other end. I ignored her and hung up. That night, the media reported Jamie being rushed to the emergency room. Later, Lucian addressed the situation, claiming Jamie was greedy and had overeaten, resulting in indigestion. He expressed concern and sent her to the hospital. The next day, Lucian's reputation as a devoted husband soared, and no one doubted it. I knew it was all a facade, unrelated to me, but I didn't expect that days later, my live streaming room was flooded with malicious comments. Previously filled with positive feedback, suddenly everyone was complaining about my products. They accused me of causing diarrhea with my hot and sour noodles and began posting slanderous remarks everywhere. My live stream sales plummeted daily, and people labeled me as a heartless merchant. I knew this was more complicated than it seemed. As expected, I received a call from Jamie. Audrey, do you really believe you can save the company on your own? In front of Lucian's family, you're just vulnerable. I realized Lucian's family was behind this sabotage and understood their intentions. Today is Lucian's birthday. You better come sooner rather than later, or just wait for the Chen family to go bankrupt. Jamie concluded before hanging up. My hand trembled uncontrollably with anger. In my past life, Lucian, that pervert, tormented me. I never intended to drag anyone down, but Jamie couldn't stand me being better than her and also couldn't tolerate being worse off. That evening, I still went. Upon arrival, Jamie was on the ground pouring wine for Lucian with extreme humility, completely different from the affection rumored externally. Inside, besides Lucian and Darren, there were also their opportunistic friends and respective female companions. It wasn't chaotic. Lucian placed his foot on Jamie's back as she knelt, treating her like an animal without any haste. Jamie didn't dare resist. Isn't that quite arrogant of you? I asked. Lucian leered lewdly and replied, Now do you realize that just a single move from me can bankrupt you and your family? All those malicious comments in my live streaming room were orchestrated by you. I confronted him fiercely. Why are you so angry? Why did you do this? Lucian shrugged nonchalantly. It's just a minor trick. Why are you upset? Why did you do this? Suddenly, Lucian kicked Jamie, sending her crashing into the nearby coffee table. She didn't make a sound. I watched as Lucian leisurely approached me, lifting my chin. What do you think, Audrey? The name almost made me lose control and want to slap him. Every time he used my nickname, it was his most perverted. Your sister's tastes are even worse than yours. I've had enough of it in just half a year, Lucian leered lewdly. You're still the one haunting me? That's enough. I stepped back, distancing myself from Lucian. He didn't mind and said, Don't pretend, Audrey, don't you think? I know you are just like me. He hadn't used the word reborn, but it was clear. There were still others present. From his eyes, I could see he understood my intentions. Obey me, or tomorrow you'll see the news of Audrey Group's bankruptcy. In my previous life, Lucian always threatened me like this, forcing me to submit to him. Come and play. Lucian didn't want to spend much time on me. He believed a few words would make me yield. I sneered and turned to walk out. Suddenly, he grabbed me and forcefully threw me onto the sofa. You refuse a toast, so drink a forfeit. Everyone, come at her. I saw several men approaching me from the gap. I saw the evil smile on Jamie's face. She couldn't wait for me to suffer even more than she had in her life. At that moment, the door was forcefully pushed open, and police officers rushed in. Stand up, all of you! The scene was chaotic as everyone looked for their clothes. Lucian wasn't in a hurry. He walked up to the police. Do you know who I am? I don't care who you are now. Someone reported that you're involved in group promiscuity. Everyone needs to go to the police station for investigation. Are you kidding me? I am Lucian, the eldest young master of the Lucian family. Don't you want to live? Lucian disregarded the police entirely, handcuffing them all. The police ordered Lucian, who cursed and punched one officer in the face. Assaulting a police officer worsened his crime. The police executed a shoulder throw, subduing Lucian. He fell to the ground in disarray, crying out in pain. Let me go! You will all regret treating me like this! Lucian was unaware that everything he did was being live-streamed across the internet. Learning from my past life, I secretly recorded a video and gathered evidence to report his actions. In the end, it all failed, and Lucian completely retaliated against me. However, this time, I wouldn't be so foolish. I anticipated everything, so I installed a mini camera on my body and had the company's IT department conduct a live stream in real time. Now, people nationwide knew what he had done. Even with his considerable power, he couldn't escape under the watch of the entire internet. Lucian was sentenced to 5 years in prison. Darren received 3 years, and those so-called friends of his were also largely sentenced accordingly. Jamie? She was still considered a victim after the sentencing. I went to the prison to visit Lucian. He had his head shaved, but showed no signs of remorse. He firmly stated, "Audrey, do you really think your move can defeat me? You're overthinking it. When I get out in 5 years, I can still make your life a living hell." "Really?" I sneered. Visiting him today wasn't out of kindness, but to deliver good news. I presented the latest news to him. Due to the group's promiscuity, Henry Group's stock had been continuously declining. In just half a year, 2/3 of its market value had vanished. Lucian's face twisted in anger, but he didn't collapse. I continued, "The chairman of Henry Group is suspected of corruption, accepting bribes, and tax evasion. He was administratively detained a week ago." Panic started showing on Lucian's face. The chairman's wife couldn't handle the series of blows and was sent to the hospital with a cerebral hemorrhage. Her life is currently unknown. Lucian was losing control. I smiled and recited the latest news. "Today, your father's junior secretary, who is also his lover, took all the remaining funds from Henry Group and fled. This means Henry Group is now an empty shell and will soon declare bankruptcy. Don't you know how it feels to have your family ruined? Is it pleasant?" Finally, Lucian couldn't contain himself. "Impossible! You're lying to me. With such a large family business, how could it go bankrupt so easily? Our family's funds can't be exhausted in just a few lifetimes. Yes, normally your family's wealth wouldn't be depleted so quickly, but unfortunately, there are you and Darren, 2 prodigal sons," I said sarcastically. "And then you mentioned that your family is in such a dire condition now, and it's entirely your fault." Quiet for me, Audrey. When I get out of prison, I will undoubtedly kill you," Lucian declared, his anger barely contained. The prison guard next to him pressed his head against the table, his veins visibly prominent, and his struggle to resist appearing thoroughly satisfying. I watched him as if he were a joke and whispered in his ear, "It depends on whether you can survive until then." "What do you mean, literally?" he responded. I gave a cold smile, stood up, and began to leave. Before exiting, I turned back and informed him, "By the way, I forgot to mention that a new list of the city's wealthiest individuals was released a few days ago. Audrey Group topped the rankings." Lucian's eyes immediately turned bloodshot, clearly overwhelmed by the shock and unable to accept the news. I walked away, only the prison guard's reprimands echoing behind me. "Don't move! Behave yourself!" It felt as though Lucian was pleading for mercy, begging, "Don't hit me anymore. I won't move. Please don't hit me." Lucian should never have imagined facing such a day. After all, who claims that the satisfaction of revenge isn't pleasurable? Upon my return from prison and arriving home, I heard Jaime's voice. She had become truly thick-skinned. After Lucian's arrest, Jamie didn't intend to abandon Lucian's family either. When the news broke, my parents requested Jamie to divorce Lucian, thinking that since she was their daughter, they still felt some sympathy for her. However, Jamie disagreed. She believed that with both Lucian and Darren imprisoned, she would lead a prosperous life within Lucian's large family business, ensuring endless wealth. My parents were so anxious that they reprimanded her repeatedly, even suggesting that they couldn't bear to see her well and wanted to sever ties. It seems she always believed that without Lucian's family's financial support, our family would soon face bankruptcy. With Lucian and Darren in prison, she assumed Lucian's family would harbor grudges. So to prevent being implicated, she made her position clear. Within a few months, it was Lucian's family that went bankrupt, allowing her to return shamelessly. When Jamie saw me, she hastily greeted me, "Sister, don't call me sister." I reminded her, "We have cut ties. Don't you remember? Sister, that's all in the past. You are magnanimous and won't mind my immaturity, right?" Jamie acted coyly towards me, making me feel extremely uncomfortable. I couldn't hold back and retorted, "You clearly said we have nothing to do with each other. Otherwise, we would be struck by lightning. You aren't afraid of death?" but I am. Jamie stretched out her ending sound, attempting to appease me. I'm only 15 minutes older than you. We're the same age. Don't act childish in front of me. I won't fall for your tricks. It's a bit disgusting. Jamie turned red from my comments, clearly embarrassed. I didn't offer her any kindness either, bluntly stating, "You made it clear that we have nothing to do with each other. Otherwise, we'd be doomed." Jamie elongated her words, trying to sweeten the situation, but I remained firm. Feeling frustrated, I ordered her to leave. "In the future, if anyone comes knocking, don't open the door," I instructed. The servants quickly approached Jamie, saying, "Miss Chen, this way, please." Tears welled up in her eyes as she realized she couldn't win me over. She desperately pleaded with my parents. "Dad, Mom, Sister wants to drive me away. You have to help me." I noticed hesitation in their eyes. But finally, my mother firmly stated, "This family really doesn't welcome you. You should leave quickly and never return." Amy's eyes widened in disbelief. She hadn't expected her parents to be so heartless. "I'm your own daughter. How can you treat me like this?" Jamie screamed. "Didn't you take the initiative to cut ties with us?" My mother responded coldly. "When you were doing well, you didn't take our family seriously. Now that you're struggling, you come to us. Do you really think we're fools? If I hadn't sacrificed and married Lucian back then, our family would have gone bankrupt long ago. Would Audrey still be managing the company? I couldn't understand why she chose to marry Lucian willingly." My mother continued, "The only thing I can be sure of is that you didn't do it for our family." Jamie couldn't find any reason to defend herself. After insisting that her sister-in-law should see the guest out, my mother ordered Jamie to leave. "I won't leave. This is my home. I won't go," Jamie protested, trying to manipulate the situation. I immediately instructed the servants to escort her out. Once Jaime departed, my mother specifically warned me, "From now on, don't pay attention to anything Jamie asks you to do. A wild, untamable wolf isn't worth having." Jamie successfully isolated herself from everyone. Initially, I worried my parents might show mercy, but as expected, if a disaster is self-inflicted, there's no way to avoid it. I thought that after being abandoned by our entire family, Jamie would finally find peace. Unexpectedly, Jamie started a live streaming channel, publicly lamenting our family's ingratitude. She claimed that to prevent our family from going bankrupt, she was forced to marry Lucian, who was in a vegetative state. After Lucian regained consciousness, he became abusive and tortured her in various ways. To protect the family business, she had to endure the humiliation. Now that Lucian was imprisoned, his family members had received their due, and the business was thriving again. However, our family began to despise her for being impure and expelled her. Jamie's live streaming quickly became popular, attracting over 100,000 viewers almost immediately. People were outraged by Jamie, and our entire family faced cyberbullying. Naturally, the Audrey group was affected, and the stock prices began to drop. In both my live streaming room and the company's channel, countless negative comments poured in. I took the initiative to contact Jamie, but she didn't respond, not even to calls from my parents. She capitalized on the surge in traffic to miserably sell products in her live streams, earning a substantial amount of money. It seemed she was still very proud, having devised such an effective way to retaliate against us. Not only did she make money, but she also caused us discomfort, killing 2 birds with 1 stone. However, my patience had reached its limit. I thought that as long as she didn't cause any more trouble and lived her life peacefully, her days of being tortured after marrying Lucian would be considered my punishment for her in a past life. Some people only push their love. During the peak of her live streaming popularity, I posted several videos on my short video account. The first video depicted how my parents awkwardly allowed us to marry Lucian, with Jamie volunteering. The second video showed how after Jamie became arrogant and domineering at home, I declared that I would marry Lucian and that she didn't need to. She stubbornly insisted on marrying Lucian. The third segment covered Jamie cutting off ties with me and our parents. The fourth was a voice message from Jamie asking me to attend Lucian's birthday. The fifth segment captured the birthday party where, while I was being bullied by Lucian, Jamie wore a malicious and triumphant smile. At that time, everyone's attention was on Lucian, and no one noticed a fleeting picture. I deliberately enlarged and slowed down that picture. Once all the videos were released, the truth became clear. Jamie was still miserably selling products in her live streams. You have no idea what life is like in the Chen family. Mom and Dad have always favored my sister since I was a child and never liked me. As a child, I always wore my sister's leftover clothes and ate the meals she didn't want," a comment read. "Don't lie, we already know your true colors." Jamie frowned upon seeing this comment. "I know you don't believe such things can happen in this society. If I hadn't experienced it myself, I wouldn't believe it either," she responded. "Enough. How long are you going to pretend?" another comment asked. "Return the goods? Return the goods." Jamie grew a bit angry. "Since you can't empathize with human suffering, my live streaming room isn't a place for you. Please leave." "How thick-skinned must one be to say such disgusting words?" another commenter wrote. "It's so disgusting. I actually bought a lot of things from her live streams, but the quality is extremely poor," another one complained. "I didn't dare to say anything before, thinking it was part of the suffering, but I was actually cheated," someone else added. "I ate the spiced chicken feet she sold yesterday and ended up vomiting and having diarrhea. I seriously suspect these are products without proper guarantees. The live streaming room was filled with curses." Initially, Jamie tried to explain, but it was clear she couldn't manage the situation. She lost her temper and retorted, "If you don't want to buy, leave my live streaming room." Finally, stop pretending. This is your true face. Disgusting, disgusting, disgusting. It's recommended that relevant departments strictly inspect the products she sells. There must be issues, another comment suggested. Waiting for the inspection results, Jamie finally realized what was happening. Upon the reminder from her assistant, Jamie's face changed drastically in an instant. She hurriedly turned off the live stream and immediately called me. "Audrey, you're so vicious. You actually secretly recorded so many videos." I just laughed. "Vicious? I call this self-defense. If I hadn't been reborn and prepared in advance, wouldn't I have been killed by you again? You were also reborn, Audrey. I knew you were taking revenge on me. It was you who meticulously designed each step to trap me." Jamie was utterly devastated. "I didn't design it all. You chose all the paths yourself. If you hadn't bitten me and our parents back then, I wouldn't have taken out these videos. At least you could have lived a normal life." "Do you think I would believe you?" I responded fiercely. "Otherwise, when Lucian was arrested, I would have made these videos public." Jamie was speechless. "Those who do evil will not escape punishment," I sneered. "If I'm not mistaken, your live streaming room will soon face numerous returns because you signed a binding agreement with the manufacturer. If you can't meet the sales targets in one live stream, you'll lose everything. Secondly, you've been selling products without proper guarantees, which is a criminal offense. The police will soon come knocking on your door. Finally, I found out that if the sales volume of such products exceeds 2 million, you'll be sentenced to 15 years in prison. Considering your live streaming sales volume is already far beyond 2 million. I continued. Congratulations! You'll be in prison for a long time. Jamie screamed wildly. I will kill you! I will kill you! Her mentality completely collapsed. Jamie's threats weren't just empty words. The next morning, I noticed a suspicious vehicle following me. After being reborn, I couldn't let her succeed with the same tricks. I had been diligently practicing my driving skills, knowing such a day would come. I frowned, stepped on the accelerator fully, and sped away. Jamie chased after me recklessly. As I sped up, she did the same. Suddenly, I executed a drift and made a sharp turn, passing a large truck ahead. Jamie couldn't brake or turn in time and crashed into the truck at high speed. The violent impact completely destroyed the front of her car. Fortunately, Jamie survived, though she was left paralyzed and would spend the rest of her life bedridden. When I visited her, she still looked excited and angry upon seeing me, but she was powerless. This is really more uncomfortable than her death, I thought sarcastically as I looked down at her. Even if reborn, a fool remains a fool. Enjoy your incomplete and pathetic second half of life. Jamie couldn't help but cry loudly. Whether she regretted it or not, it didn't matter anymore. I left the hospital, and my parents hadn't visited once. When I informed them about Chummy's accident, they were on vacation abroad and dismissed it lightly, saying it was her own fault. People live their entire lives like this. It's truly sad to see someone like Jaime living. I mused, gazing up at the blue sky and white clouds, feeling an indescribable sense of freedom and comfort. It was time for me to enjoy the beautiful life I hadn't experienced in my previous life.